If you would have asked me 3 months ago if I would have been here today recording about losing my best horse, I would have said, no way, not a chance. But here we are. Hey everyone, welcome back to Strong on the Saddle. I hope you're doing well. I feel like this is going to be a really hard one to record, but I want to record it regardless because losing Junior, my best horse, was a huge and has been a huge moment in my life with horses. And as hard as it might be to talk about it and reflect on it, I do want to document it, partly just to do justice to Junior. I've thought about doing a full video about my life with him and all of that, maybe down the road, but to be honest, here now, a few months removed from what happened, I still don't think I would be able to make a video like that. So I just want to have just a chit chat about losing him, and we will leave it at that for now. Before I get into what exactly happened with Junior, I do just kind of want to reflect on Junior. Oh boy. I got him in 2006. I was 14 years old. Junior was 6. It was a very difficult time in my own life. I got him in June. In that February, me, my mom, and my 2 brothers were in a very, very bad car accident, and both my brothers actually passed away. And so I was kind of in this world of being a teenage girl who's trying to figure all of that out with friends and boys and my body, and then having my life get completely turned upside down and losing both of my brothers. So I was in this really weird time in my life, and Junior, that June, came into my life, and it was the best thing ever. And I will never forget, we bought him from Jeff Hoare from Innisfil, and I still remember to this day, walking into Jeff's barn and seeing Junior poke his head over a stall door. He looked absolutely massive to me, but he was beautiful. Just this beautiful sorrel gelding, a star on his forehead, and just everything I had dreamt of as a little girl about the kind of horse that I wanted. Jeff saddled him up and he asked me if I wanted to hop on, and I was nervous, so I asked Jeff to give him a spin first, and Jeff got on him and he did sliding stops and spins like a reining horse and did flying lead changes. He did all of the things, and I got on him, and it was just, I've dealt with fear a lot with horses in my life, and I got on him and I was nervous, but I felt safe. And I feel like that is always how I've been with Junior. I could be nervous, but I knew I was safe, and I knew that Junior would always just absorb any bit of nervousness that I have. Like, some horses, that makes them nervous. If you're nervous, they'll be nervous. That was not the case with Junior. He just absorbed whatever I was giving off and just took it all in stride for me throughout our entire career together. And we did so much together. That summer we started off with Gymkhanas. I was bound and determined that, I guess I should say, Junior was trained to be a cutting horse. He went to the Canadian Supreme as a 3-year-old competing in the cutting. Like, he was a cutting horse. He was very, very well trained across the board, but he had been specifically trained in cutting. And when I got him as a 14-year-old girl, all I wanted to do was barrel race. Like, I was gonna take this cutting horse and we were gonna barrel race and we were gonna get to the NFR. And like, looking back now is so silly, but I was just so excited about it. And we spent that summer competing in Gymkhanas locally, And then we moved into, I think I did 1 year of 4-H with Junior. We eventually progressed into just local jackpots through the Alberta Barrel Racing Association. I did amateur rodeos with him. I high school rodeoed with him. And yeah, a girl who had no idea what she was doing, patterned him to barrel race via using Charmaine James' barrel racing book. I had that, and I think I had some Martha Josie DVDs. With those, I taught this cutting horse how to barrel race. I had no idea what I was doing, but we did it, and we had so much fun. We went to clinics and shows and all kinds of rodeos and barrel races, and we just did all the things, and it was incredible. And Junior just, like I said, he took it all in stride. He always did what I asked, and he was the best equine partner that I ever could have asked for. One thing about Junior is his personality. I think some people may not like. I think a lot of people like a horse that is more personable. And I think the reason Junior was able to absorb so much of my nervous energy is because he was such a stoic horse. He wasn't in your pocket. He wasn't super sociable. Like, he enjoyed getting groomed and stuff, but he's so much different from Diesel, who is like a people kind of horse. Junior wasn't that. He was like, I will do the job you asked me to do. Yes, I enjoy some scratches, but I'm not going to... He didn't have people-like characteristics, I guess you could say, which, to be honest, I was kind of fine with. You know, we would go do our thing, we would have a good time, and that would be the end of it. And I don't know, his personality just worked for me. And now that I have a horse who's much more personable, it's kind of taken me a bit of time to make that switch from a horse that's not personable to one that is. I don't know, it's just, I liked that about Junior, and yeah, it's been quite a switch to go to Diesel, who's totally different. So I am a public accountant. I'm a CPA, and starting from the middle of February or so until April 30th, I pretty much work every single day for that entire 10, 11 weeks, and crazy hours too. Like not just regular business hours. So it's 7 days a week, like 10 plus hours a day. It's a lot. And during that time, I obviously take the time to feed, water my horses. If the farrier needs to come, I make time to be with my farrier, get my horses' feet trimmed, all that kind of stuff. But beyond that, my horses are just out in the pasture, just being horses until May 1st this year, and then I can spend time with them. And this year was no different. And it's worked, right? Like, sure, my horses get a little bit out of shape, but it is what it is. This year is a little bit different because, for those of you who don't know, I am pregnant. And in early March, I was from like week 6 on, I was dealing with a lot of nausea and just not feeling good. And there was a Sunday morning where I woke up, got up and had breakfast, and my head was pounding. I felt terrible. Early on in my pregnancy, I had some stints where first thing in the morning, I would have really, really low blood pressure, and I would almost pass out, but not quite. And I kind of had one of those episodes that morning. And typically how my morning goes is I will get up, have my breakfast, go outside, feed my horses, come back in, get ready for the day, and go to work. On this day, I felt so terrible that I was like, there's no way I can take the 10 minutes to go feed my horses right now. I need to go back to bed. I'm not going to work. I'm gonna go back to bed, and when I wake up, I'll feed the horses. Like, if their breakfast is a couple hours late, it's okay. I physically cannot do that right now. So that's what I did. I had my breakfast. I don't even think I ate it all, and went back to bed, which I have never ever done. Like, I'm very adamant about my horses needing to be fed on a schedule. So I've never done that before, but on this day, that is what I did. A few hours later, I got up and I went to feed my horses, and I noticed that Junior was all wet, which it had rained, I think, the day before. And mind you, this is beginning of March. The rain, cold, not great. But the rain, I think, had stopped the morning prior. So it seemed odd that he was still wet. But I was like, okay, he's wet. Maybe he was just, I don't know. But then I saw Diesel. Diesel was completely dry. And I kind of looked at Junior, and he was visibly shaking. I was like, oh great, he's cold. Okay, so I brought him into the barn. Our barn is not heated, but at least he was out of the wind, which that day it was very, very, very windy. Got him out of the wind, brought him inside, started trying to brush him a bit to, dry him up a bit. Came back inside, told Lucas, my husband, I think something's not quite right with Junior. Like, can you come out and see what you think? Lucas came out to the barn, and yeah, Junior, one of his back legs was kind of shaking, and every once in a while he would shake his head a bit. I put some hay in a hay bag and hung it on a stall for him to eat, and he had zero interest in eating. So at that point, I'm like slowly starting to panic, and so that's when I called my vet. My vet didn't answer the phone, but they did say you can text him if you need something. So I texted him, and he told me put a blanket on him and try to get him to drink some water. Told him all about like the symptoms that I was seeing and all of that stuff. So I put a blanket on him, his thick winter blanket, and offered him some water. He had zero interest in drinking any water. He did not touch his hay. Texted my vet. He does not want to drink water. He doesn't want to eat. The vet asked me to put some salt water in his mouth and see if that'll get him to want to drink by having something salty. So I took a syringe and some salt water, flushed that around in his mouth to see if that would help. Still not interested. He was still shaking, and obviously he was starting to dry off, but just obviously it was very apparent that he was not doing well. And I didn't know, like, I thought it was just him. He got cold, he got wet the day before, couldn't get himself dried off for whatever reason. And then with the wind and the cold, I thought he just kind of got chilled to the bone, and that's what I was dealing with. I had no idea. And my vet told me that he was not able to make it to our place. He was in Calgary, and because of the wind, it actually took typically a drive like that to get back to where he's located. It would usually take about an hour and a half, 2 hours. It took him double that time to get home. So there was no way he was getting to our place on Sunday. But he said he would be at our place first thing Monday morning. So in the meantime, I kept Junior in the barn for the rest of Sunday until the wind finally died down later that day. And when I let him out of the barn, I took off his halter, and because it was March, we had been going through periods of snow and then thawing and then freezing, so that thawed out snow turning to ice. So there was quite a bit of ice in their pen, and he literally walked out of the barn and just found a spot and laid flat out on like rough ice. He just laid face on the ground on ice. And I went and grabbed another horse blanket that I had and tucked it underneath his head so at least his head wasn't directly on the ice. And I laid there with him on the blanket and I bawled my eyes out. Because obviously just seeing your horse and I'm sure he wanted to lay down all day while he was in the barn. He stood there while I had him in the barn until the wind died down, but he immediately laid down as soon as he got outside. And just to see your horse, who, like, Junior has been king to me, right? Like, he's just this strong, well-built ranch gelding that is just the epitome of power and strength and beauty. And to see him in such distress laying down like that, he kind of nickered at me and stuff like that, and it was heartbreaking. And I talked to him and I reminisced just about our lives together. Like, I bought him in 2006. If he had made it to June of this year, I would have owned him for 20 years. And yeah, it's an understatement to say that it was hard to see him like that. And I told him that if he needed to go, I wanted him to go on his own. I didn't want to have to be the one to have to make the decision to put him down. And I told him that. I begged with him. I said, if this is the end, please just make it the end. Don't make me have to make that call. And after a while, obviously I wasn't doing well, just so sick with being pregnant. So at some point I had to go back in the house for the night. I left him there. I could kind of see where he had laid down from a window in the house, and that night before I went to bed, he had obviously moved, so he got up and he wasn't at that spot anymore. I thought maybe that's a good sign, I don't know, and I just left it for the morning. In the morning, I went out to the barn around 4 a.m. I texted my employer, and this is really hard during tax season, right? Like, it's so busy, and I texted my employer and they were super good. I just said, they know how much Junior means to me, and I just said, there's a chance I have to put him down today. I don't know when I'll be in the office today. And they were good with that, so I didn't have to worry about work. I went out about 4 a.m. and he didn't come up to the hay feeder. Diesel was there, and it was so dark, and I don't have lights into our pens, so I couldn't see where Junior was. I was half praying that he had just passed in the night and it was done. But yeah, I didn't know for sure. So I went back in the house and waited until it was a bit lighter out. I went out again at around 7:30, and we have a shelter, just like an open face shelter. He was laying down in there. So he had his blanket on and he was just laying in the shelter again, just flat out, basically unchanged from the day before. I just told him, the vet's on the way. It's the vet that we've worked with ever since I had him. Since I've been a little girl, we've used this vet. And I said, he's on his way. We're gonna get this figured out. And at around 8:30, the vet finally showed up. We brought Junior into the barn. He had me take his blanket off, and the vet did his initial examination of Junior, listened to him with a stethoscope, and I don't remember what else he did, but then he did a rectal exam, and that's where he determined that Junior's intestines were very, very much distended and he was colicking. I have never dealt with colic before as a horse owner. And maybe it's a little bit on me that I feel like colic is common enough that I should have been educated to recognize the signs and all of that. I did not. And so he said, yeah, he's got colic. His guts are not moving. They're very distended. Like he's in pain. So he said, like, there's nothing he could do. He said, your option is to put him in a trailer and take him to Calgary to the vet clinic down there who can deal with colic cases. They will do an exam on him, and there's a good chance that they'll have to do surgery on him and all that. I made a decision, I don't know how long ago, but I made a mental decision that I was never going to do colic surgery on my horses. It's really expensive, and I don't have horses that are worth enough money to be putting that much into them. And I know the recovery from colic surgery is a lot. And with Junior, given his age, I was very hesitant to think that he could even handle it. First off, the road to Calgary was in really bad shape from all that wind and stuff in winter. And just 2 hours plus in a trailer in the state that he was in, I honestly did not think that Junior would be able to handle it, period. And just surgery on an almost 26-year-old horse who was in that kind of state already, knowing in my brain that I had already decided way before this that I was never going to do colic surgery on my horses. I just told the vet, that's not an option. I can't see him suffer anymore. What are my other options? So as I said, colic, it's common enough that I feel like, and I'm totally putting this on myself, I should have been educated about colic, but I wasn't, and I'm still not. Like at this point, I don't want to know anything about colic. I just had my horse die from it. I don't want to look into it. In the future, yes, I want to know more about colic so I can maybe prevent this in the future. But horses, for whatever reason, have terrible intestinal setups, and they are prone to colic. And from what I know, colic can vary a lot, and it's unpredictable. It can happen fast, and treatment options vary depending on the severity of the case. But like I said, we were at a point where I ultimately had to make the very hard decision to put Junior down. As much as I begged with him to not make me make that decision, that's the situation that I ended up in. And it was so hard. Like, I talk to my horses, right? And I like to think that they know what I'm saying. And to stand there talking about this with my vet in front of Junior, it almost felt like a betrayal to him. But I knew it was in his best interest. And so my vet asked me to call my husband to come home to be with me while he got everything prepared for what was about to happen. So I called my husband. He got home to the ranch within like 15 minutes, and we started the process of all of that. It was terrible, absolutely terrible. I won't get into the details of that specific procedure, but just My vet was very, very kind with Junior. He has seen Junior through a lot of years, and he knows also how much Junior means to me. And I was with Junior to the end, and I said everything to him that he deserved to hear at the end, and I was there when he left. So after that all took place, Diesel was obviously not a happy camper. So I have Junior and I have Diesel. And if you don't have Junior, I only have Diesel, which means Diesel's now alone. And he was whinnying and pacing and stuff like that. His buddies all of a sudden just gone. I kept him in the barn for a bit while we dealt with Junior and just tried to like just be his friend in that moment. And then I decided to go to work. I needed to just take my mind off of what was happening, what had happened, and just go to work, look at people's taxes and just not think about horses. And that day was just kind of a blur. One of the partners gave me a big bear hug, just saying like he knows how tough stuff like that is. And yeah, I feel like since then, so that was beginning of March. March and April are chaos for me at work. I have literally no time to do anything but work. And so I feel like I definitely had moments like that first week. I cried every day, like randomly at my desk, I would start crying. And yeah, but work kept my mind distracted for sure. But the whole time I was just so worried about Diesel being alone, because I had Junior by himself for maybe 2 years. I know that's not fair for a horse. And yeah, I was so concerned about Diesel. I don't want him to be alone and all of that stuff. So it's kind of been a weird situation since then. Like I haven't had time to think about it because of work, but also just being concerned about Diesel. Obviously I go out there every day to take care of him and stuff, but haven't been able to spend the kind of time that I would want to have spent with him since all of that happened. I used to always joke that the day that Junior died would be a day that would absolutely break me. I was very aware of how attached I was to Junior, and I feel like it's this weird situation where I was aware of that vulnerability and I didn't like that I was that vulnerable, because I know how much it hurts to lose something that you love. But I also wouldn't have wanted it any other way. Like, do you want to know what it was like to have had Junior and then to lose him, or to not have Junior at all? Obviously, I want to have loved and lost, as hard as that is to say. You know, I don't know if you consider it a cliche, but like, you don't know what you have until it's gone. I knew what I had. Obviously, he wasn't what he was when I first got him. Like, he was almost 26 years old. He had some past injuries that were preventing him to do some of the stuff that he had done in the past. You know, he wasn't a 6-year-old primed up performance horse anymore by any means. But that didn't make him anything less in my eyes. And we went through so much together, from where I was at in my life when I first got him after losing my brothers, to just all the crazy stuff with high school and navigating going into post-secondary, and you know, just everything in life that's happened over the past 20 years, he's been there and he knew every secret. He taught me so many things. He was my first really, really good horse. He taught me what a really, really good horse is. He spoiled me. He 100% spoiled me. He took such good care of me. And I would tell him all the time, like, you don't owe me a thing. If anything, I owe you so much, and there's no way I can repay you. I'll forever be in debt to him. People that don't have horses they'll never understand the connection you can have with a horse. And as you can see, I was definitely connected to him. And when I got Diesel 3 years ago, I initially had said that Diesel has really big shoes to fill. And I kind of brought him here with this impossible expectation that he needed to replace Junior. And I found out very fast that that's not how that works. Like, nothing will replace Junior. Diesel is his own horse. He's completely different. And to be honest, I don't want anything to replace Junior. He will forever be king to me, and nothing can replace him. But that being said, I do hope that the connection that Diesel and I can form now, especially that all of my energy will be on him, I hope that the connection we can form will be something close to as incredible as what I had with Junior. And I'm fully aware that it takes a lot of time. It doesn't happen overnight, but I've seen glimmers of it already, because now that Diesel's by himself, suddenly I become a lot more interesting, right? And I'm seeing glimmers of that connection forming now, and I'm very, very excited for this summer to spend time with him and to just see how much we can do. And yeah, it's really tough. It is really tough. Definitely a downer episode. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I don't want to cry anymore. And I don't think you want to listen to me cry either. So we will end it there. I just like, part of me thinks that Junior's looking at me from heaven, and I just want him to know that even if I don't talk about him every day, that doesn't mean that he's still not so very, very important to me. Okay, we need to stop. Junior will be with me for the rest of my life. We'll just put it at that. He will always be a part of me. In everything that I do with horses, he will be there. So, going forward, we're gonna have a really good summer. We're gonna show Junior how much we can do, how much he's taught me, and how I can take that and move that forward with future horses that I work with. I want to make him proud of how much Diesel and I can do. Yeah, we're gonna have a good summer, I promise. So, downer episode, everything's gonna go up from here, I promise. Because I don't like to cry. I do not like to cry. So, if you want to see fun stuff coming up, please be sure to subscribe. I am at Strong in the Saddle everywhere. And until next time, remember, it's always a good day to